Here's the second lesson of this section, that is data types. In this section, we would be learning what are data types and different types of data in C. So what are data types? Data type in C refer to an extensive system used for declaring variables of different types. The type of variable determines how much space it occupies in memory and how the bit pattern stored is interpreted. The type of variable is specified by its data type. The types in C programming can be classified as shown here. The first type is basic type. It is generally categorized as arithmetic type, which has integer type of data and floating point of data. Then comes the type void. The void type indicates that no value is available. Enumerated type. It is considered as one of the special derived type, which is also of type arithmetic, and it is used to define variables that can only assign certain discrete integer values throughout the program. And finally, the wide range of derived type that include pointer, array, structure, union, function, and so on. In this lesson, we would be discussing the arithmetic type, that is the basic type of data, and the type void in detail. Let us first see the declaration of a variable. Here, the name of the variable is age. We have seen how to declare a variable in the previous lesson. We know that the variable name is preceded by data type. Here int specifies that this variable age will consider data of type integer. Here it is specified to a value 20. So the declaration starts with the data type, then comes the variable name, and if required, it is initialized in the same statement with its corresponding value. So now let us learn data types one by one. Let us first see all the integer types of data. This is the list of all the integer types of data. It starts with character. Character is considered as integer type because a character is stored in the form of its ASCII value. Each character has its own ASCII value. Let's say for example, I have a character small a. Small a has a character value of 97. Small b has a value of 98. Similarly, capital A has a value of 65, and so on. You can refer to the ASCII chart, which shows each character has a corresponding ASCII value. Now the storage size for character is 1 byte. As we measure distance in kilometers, some liquid in liters. Similarly, the storage size of the data in computer is measured in byte. 1 byte is equal to 8 bits. So the character takes a memory of 1 byte in CPU. Now the value of character ranges from -128 to 127. It can be calculated as it has 8 bits, 1 bit as a signed bit, and the remaining are 7 bits. So these 7 bits represents the range. That is 2 raised to 7, 128. So this value range from -128 to 127. Now this unsigned, signed, short, long, all these are size modifiers. When a data type is preceded by these modifiers, it just changes the range and the storage size which it occupies. The unsigned char changes the range from 0 to 255. Unsigned char means it cannot store unsigned means it cannot store negative values. It will only store positive values. So its range becomes 0 to 255. Similarly, signed characters have a range from -128 to 127. Now comes the widely used data type, that is int. The storage size for int is 2 or 4 bytes depending on your system configuration. If your system is of 32 bits, integer will take 2 bytes. If your system is of 64 bits, integer will take 4 bytes. Similarly, we can calculate the range. The range for integer is -32,768 to 32,767. Similarly, as used in character, we can use modifiers in integer to vary its range and storage size. So unsigned int will have this range. signed, unsigned, short, and long. These four are known as size modifiers. Short int will have 2 bytes. Unsigned short int will also have 2 bytes, but the difference lies in range. Unsigned short int can store only positive values. Now long int can store bigger integer values, and unsigned long int can store more bigger integer values. Now comes the floating point type. Floating point number is nothing but a number which consists of decimal point, that is real numbers. So float and double are the two data types which are used to store decimal numbers. So float and double are the two data types which are used to store real numbers. The major difference between float and double lies in its storage and the precision. So the storage size for float is 4 bytes, whereas that for double is 8 bytes. Now what is precision? The number of decimal points this data type can store. Floating point number has 6 decimal precision, whereas double has 15 decimals of precision. The size modifier long can be used with double. So long double has a storage size of 10 bytes and it modifies the precision to 19 decimals. Now this long double, generally the scientific values has a very precise and contains bigger number of decimals. So this long double is used to store such values as it has a precision of 19 decimals. Now comes the type void. It is a very interesting point, but a student often gets confused. It is the most interesting type. The void type specifies that no value is available. It means void literally means nothing or no type. You can think void as absent, as if nothing is present. It is used in 3 kinds of situations. When a function returns something, when a function do not return, it returns void type. There are various functions in C which do not return any value, or you can say that they return void. A function which do not return any value has the return type as void. Some functions do not take argument, or we can say they take arguments as void. Then comes the pointer, the most confusing concept of C programming. But if you stick to the basic, it becomes really very easy. So pointers to void. A pointer of type void represents the address of an object, but not of its type. So void pointer is a pointer that points nowhere. It is a null pointer. Let's have a quick recap. These are the basic data types. Integer. Integer stores whole numbers that can have both 0, positive and negative values, but no decimal values. Then comes character. When a character is stored, it is stored in its ASCII value. So each character has its own ASCII value. The range of character, there are 256 characters in C programming. Then comes floating point number. Floating point numbers are nothing but real numbers which consist of decimals. So float is the keyword used to specify that a variable will store a floating point number. More precise floating point number will be stored as double. In the next coming lesson, we would be learning what are escape sequences and examples of escape sequences.